How's it going, everybody? Welcome to today's video. In today's video, I'm going over different warm-up drills that I used for my deadlift and overhead press day. I'm mostly focused on spine and hip drills particularly. Now, I'm starting off with monster walks in order to just warm up the hips. Something I want to be really candid about is it's not going to fix any kind of technical errors doing these. However, it will warm the hips up and it'll get the blood flowing in order to make sure that you have a more optimal warm-up for your exercise. Now we move on to bird dogs. I like to utilize this drill to warm up the core and the spine, just to work on those stabilizers. You also get your multifidi here and erectors. But for this particular drill, notice that I'm holding the extension out for 3 to 4 seconds. And what I'm doing as I extend out is I'm taking short sips of air in and out. I tend to like to do this for 3 to 5 repetitions for 1 to 2 sets. Not much more is needed. We're just using this as a way to, again, get the core tissues firing and get everything nice and warmed up. Now we get into the world's greatest. I love this stretch. This hits a little bit of everything. So if your adductors are tight, this is a really good stretch. If your psoas or anterior hip tissues are tight, this is a good stretch as well. Or if you need to work on your T-spine mobility and extension, this is a great drill. This is a little bit of everything. Now, I'm taking my time with this drill, focusing on my range of motion, making sure that I am breathing, but also really trying to work really deep into that internal hip rotation. Those adductors are going to light up a little bit, but that's okay. This is a really good way to work on opening up those hips and increasing your internal hip rotation little by little, or at the very least, warming up some of those stabilizing tissues in the hip. And you'll notice I'll hold my foot down and kind of shift my hip out to the side. All I'm doing there is working the hip socket and moving my hips around as much as I can in order to ensure that I'm getting as much range as I possibly can, but also as much movement as I possibly can. So as the drill goes on, I start to get a little looser and things start to feel a little bit better. This next drill here, I like to do Cossack squats. This is really good for, again, loosening up those adductors. So for this, I like to keep my hips low and transition side to side, holding each stretch for about 3 to 5 seconds each time. This is super simple, nothing too crazy about it. The main thing with this is you're pushing off that outside leg. So when you're pushing to your right, you want to push off that left leg pretty hard to get that knee in full extension so that you actually facilitate a greater stretch on the adductors. If you're in a more upright position, those adductors and hamstrings will kind of start to get this stretch too. You can also play around with rotating the long foot or long leg, if you will, in order to facilitate a little bit more of a stretch on the hamstrings. Last but not least, I like to add in some single leg RDLs. This is just to warm up the ankles and hips for my hinge patterns. So what I'm focusing on here is keeping my spine as neutral as I can, but also keeping the hips from rotating up or down. Instead, focusing on keeping a neutral and flat spine. And as I'm going through here, make sure I'm gripping the ground with my toes, make sure I got good weight on my heels, and that I maintain good balance. And as you kind of throw in this drill, you'll start to notice that as the reps go on or as the sets go on, you'll start to feel a little bit more balanced and a little bit better, but it'll also show you where your discrepancies are when it comes to your stability of your ankle and your hip.